Ministering Angels by Laurie A. Thompson. Chapter 42, Nathan's Struggle. The Holes, Dan, Joe, and Cameron are all up there on the shore when Nathan and Brad walk up out of the water. Nathan runs ahead, yelling out an apology to the group as he gasps for air. Sorry. It is my fault we took so long. What do you mean you took a long time? Dan states, dumbfounded. Well, we said we could meet you here, and, I had something I needed to take care of first, Nathan explains. Brad walks up, joining the group. Brad, what is he talking about? Dan questions. I think Nathan can speak for himself, Dan. This is ridiculous, Joe. Just show us what it is you drug us all down here to see. No, I don't understand. Nathan steps forward, unable to ignore the confusion. What? Dan yells, growing even shorter in temper. Nathan answers, unshaken by Dan's aggressive tone. Nathan holds his hands up, effectively pausing the boys' movement. I was on the cliff until sunrise. I took so long. Brad had fallen asleep waiting for me. We just got here, Nathan, Dan explains, irritated with the delay. What do you mean you just got here? You must have stopped somewhere. You're lying. Nathan challenges Dan's intentions. Dan squares off in front of Nathan, positioned to fight. Brad quickly responds by guiding Nathan away with his arm. We have been through this already, Dan. We both know there is nothing you can do to him. Let him speak. You are kidding me. We are all going to wait around until he catches up. He's got his focus all wrapped up. We can leave him here and continue on. Joe only heard half of the conversation, so he's unclear about what the ruckus is all about. Yet it is his loyalty to Brad that makes for an easy guide. Joe walks over to Nathan as his curiosity stirs. Nathan, Cameron and I haven't been here very long, and then the Holes showed up. Then you and Brad showed up. Actually, Nathan, I'd bet the moon is still high in the sky, Joe explains. Nathan stands silent, deciding whether he wants to continue the discussion or not. He looks at Brad, wishing at least that he would understand. Nathan thinks how Brad slept and can't figure out why he isn't more engaged in the conversation. The boys' disinterest are expressions offering little insight, but the happiness that swells inside him is a cue Nathan is not going to ignore. He will cherish his moment on the cliff. He feels something strengthen inside him, that only later will he reap its benefit. Fine, Nathan flails his arms in the air. Joe smacks Brad on the chest with the back of his hand. We good? Joe asks Brad. Let's go, Brad responds. Nathan's attitude has completely turned around. A renewed excitement causes Nathan to dig in the ball of his foot into the loose ground underneath his foot. Then he pushes off, sprinting towards Cameron. Nathan carves out his signature skid mark as he comes to a stop just inches from Cameron's feet. Where do you think you're going, Nathan? asks Dan. What? Nathan responds. Joe and Brad say nothing as they walk right past Nathan. Joe walks around the stone that had hid the passageway, and Brad follows right behind. Dan comes up to the opening, then stops and turns to face the Holes, who are right on his heels. Nope, only leaders, boys. The Holes move back and reform their line at the water's edge. Dan disappears into the secret entrance. Nathan picks up a rock, throws it into the water, and plops on the ground. He thinks of what a struggle it is to deal with Dan. Yet, now he leads the group. He thinks about having to wait as he picks up another stone and throws it into the water. He tries to remember another time he had to wait. He thinks of waiting his turn in games he played with the boys. He thinks of having to wait to eat, wait to play, until work was complete. Fishing involved waiting, and he had to wait for permission to collect water or even hunt. He has never thought about having to wait. It is just a part of what he has had to do on the island. He sees himself as part of a system. He is a boy of the island, willing to do what he needs to do, go where he needs to go, and be who he needs to be for the benefit of all the boys. The frustration of having to be patient is a feeling he is accustomed to, which he always been easily managed. This moment of waiting is a stillness he has not dealt with before. Nathan feels separate, but not alone. He can feel his concern for the activities around him lessen with each stone he throws. He listens to the sound as the rock breaks the water's surface and then joins the rock bed below. Even in these shallow waters, tiny ripples are pleasing enough for Nathan to want to keep recreating them. Nathan hears clear and sharp and loud. Again, Nathan hears the cry. Nathan looks around once more, and Nathan is convinced it isn't his keen memory. It is a call from above. He positions his mind once more at this moment of waiting. He considers the idea that he is still a part of the island system, yet now he sees how this moment is different. This experience of being patient doesn't have the whole of the island as a concern. It is now the idea of each individual boy that is the concern. Nathan considers that by letting Dan lead, he is contributing to a grander part of the island, giving Dan what he needs. By being patient, Nathan realizes he isn't losing anything, and neither is the island. Nathan obliges the idea of a new island system to take over his thoughts, a system which allows each boy to evolve freely. The eagle left its perch, spread its wings, and dives close to the broken landscape. Its alignment gave the impression of focus on prey. Its seeking eyes and determined force would have any of its enemies willingly offer over its position. The eagle taunts as he sweeps over the island, but takes no action. The beautiful and graceful animal circles a tree on the other end of the area, then lands, seemingly pleased with itself as it resumes its rightful place on top of the tree's bare tip. Nathan places his hands flat on the ground by his sides when the vibrations start up again. Nathan stands up and starts walking towards the hidden entrance. He figures there has to be something he can do and decides the boys will completely understand once they realize how much he has helped them out. Nathan's quick step slowed, he grabs his chest and his back curls over. The next 3 steps takes effort as shown by his dragging feet, shifting the ground beneath him. Sorrow has overcome him, and its weight wrestles Nathan's body into an immobile state. This is not just the reaction of an anticipated missing, he thinks. It took all Nathan's strength to hold his position. It doesn't have to be this way, he suggests to himself. Nathan has taken on Thomas's despair. Nathan's mind is as unmoving as his body. No options are running through his mind, no memories surfacing to add depth to the moment. One penetrating impression holds Nathan's focus. I don't want to leave either, Nathan agrees with Thomas, and with that, like an animal burrowing into the ground, his impression deepens. Dan enters the secret area of the cavern with great curiosity. He looks about the space, eager to see what he has been unable to find on his own. Joe stands in front of Brad facing Dan as he enters. Their stoic faces impress upon Dan to contain himself. Dan draws closer to the boys as their continued serious stature increases Dan's desire to have their knowledge. Joe stretches his arm out and points to a huge opening in the ground. Joe's ingrained hunting instincts keep him steady and self-assured. His senses heighten, attuned to respond at the slightest cue. His unseen opponent is now playing a game, blinded by an insatiable appetite. The space begins to feel unfamiliar to Joe, yet his confidence is unwavering. He holds firm to his form. Dan lifts his head and glances quickly at the boys, then returns his gaze to below. The look in his eyes reminds Brad of when he told Dan of the marks. Dan's arousal peaks with greater intensity. thickening the air with a desire unidentifiable to the boys. Dan can't take his eyes off the hypnotic motions from below. Red, fiery swirls move from the center out towards the edge in waves, holding his attention. Brad walks over and stands next to Dan, motioning Joe to stay in place. "What is it used for?" Dan asks without moving a muscle. "This is my first time seeing it, Dan." Dan doesn't respond, uncharacteristically trusting Brad's words. "Joe, what is this used for?" Brad continues to maneuver the conversation. "Things can be used in different ways, can't they?" Joe questions while walking over to join Brad. "How does he use it?" Dan asks in a slow, deep tone. "What did you do with it, Joe?" Brad asks. Joe peers over the edge and conveys his relationship to the island. "To me, it is a source of life on the island, just as the fire and the ocean. It holds the power to destroy and the power to create." "What do you use it for?" Dan asks again, still slow and deep in tone. "Do you visit it?" Brad asks, trying to keep the conversation going. "I come down here when I get frustrated. It is a reminder to me that I don't have control over everything, and that there are some things that give to the island in a way that I don't understand. It should be fed, just like a fire is fed," Dan responds, seemingly drunk with desire. "Can it grow? Just as you feed the fire?" Brad continues to mediate. Joe grows tired of using Brad to banter back and forth. "Talk to me," Joe demands as he beats his forearm against Brad's chest. "Talk directly to Joe, Dan." Brad respects Joe's request, yet his response is unemotional and detached. "I am talking to Joe. He's the one that doesn't want to hear." "Yes, that is true, Dan, but you can help him out." "How?" Dan's attention is directed away. He looks away from the fire and faces Brad. "You could use that." Brad points to the fiery pit. Dan withdraws, considering the proposal. Dan becomes restless and begins to pace. He stops and looks at Brad, then draws near to him again. "You must have something in mind. How do you see me using it?" "Dan, I'm not interested in doing things you do, but what if this helped you communicate with all the boys, not just the ones who have figured out how?" "How?" "I don't know, Dan." Brad grabs Joe's arm and leads him away from Dan, speaking softly so he can't hear. Dan's irritation reflects in his demeanor, but the boys just ignore him. The anxiety that causes him to pace quickly back and forth only increases as he constantly peers over at them for any sign of an opening in their conversation. Dan flails his arms at each turn of direction, with no intention on figuring out how to calm down. Dan's agitation keeps his eyes blurred to his surroundings. His view is as limiting as casting oneself down a narrow tunnel. Then out of the corner of his eye, he sees a water sack dangling in perfect view. A second look, and it is Brad, who has tucked a sack into his strap around his waist. Laughter fills the space like sparkling crystal chimes. Dan is no longer standing in the cavern. He is now standing in the sand on the island shore. Dan tries to splash the water as a wave rolls towards his feet, but it passes through his attempt as if he wasn't even there. Dan's focus is drawn by the laughter that continues. 3 boys are taking turns chasing each other with water-filled sacks. 2 boys gang up on one, dumping the water over his head. The boys scramble back to the ocean, racing to be the first to fill their sack. Then chase resumes once more. Dan looks up at the sun and feels his whole body ache from wanting to feel its warmth on his chest. Dan closes his eyes, hoping his memory will be strong enough to create the sensation. He opens his eyes once more and sees he is back in the cavern, staring at water sacks hanging from Brad's body. Dan's leaving and return happened so quickly, his body is still asking for something that isn't there. Brad feels the holes enter the area, and when he turns, Confirmation is lingering at the entrance. Thomas is missing from the group. What's going on? Brad asks Dan. Oh, them, Dan responds, acknowledging the holes. We're going to change things up. You two may leave now. Brad motions to Joe to follow, and without any resistance, the two head for the exit. They are met by Thomas and Nathan entering the space. Nathan, we're leaving, Brad states with a reserved intonation. The holes have included Thomas and Nathan in their lineup. Nathan's empty look in his eyes in Brad's indication he isn't considering leaving. He's coming with us, Brad informs Dan, still facing Nathan. It is up to him. Given information from both sides, he has made his choice, Dan states without changing his stance. Nathan, think about it. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're choosing. I don't want to leave, Nathan states calmly. This isn't you, Nathan. This isn't you. Thomas, look at what you are doing. Let him go. He's not going anywhere, Brad. He has chosen, Dan intercedes. Frustration shows itself in Brad as he grabs for Nathan's arm, attempting to force him to stand by his side. When Brad's hand passes through Nathan's arm, Dan belts out a thundering laugh. He basks in the pleasure of this long-awaited leverage. The holes realign themselves next to Dan. What do you think you're going to do with him? Brad asks. Me? I'm not going to do anything. Something you could never understand. Something you never will understand. Until you do as the others. Give up your will to the girl in my name. The illuminated form of the girl appears over the water of fire and hovers. All are pleased to feel her presence. Nathan is not going to be with you, Dan, Brad states with confidence. Your knowing is pure ignorance, Brad. Thomas, please. You may not believe in any other option, but they are there nonetheless. Remember what you wanted. You may not be able to be with us here, but trust Thomas. It is possible to have what you seek. Some things are just beyond your grasp, Brad. I have to say, I do admire your strong mind. It will serve the cause well when you submit also, Dan remarks. Thomas, you matter. What you do matters. There is no use in using his name or trying to convince him. We elite are joined in one single effort. Ask Nathan. Nathan, I know you're afraid to leave the boys. I know that being with the boys has always been a longing in your heart. But Nathan, this desire is consuming you only because of Thomas. Ask him. Nathan, do you want to be with them or do you want to be with me? Join me, Brad. Go into the girl with me and we can be together always. Nathan's apathetic answer is given with a smile. Thomas, you can choose to stay disillusioned, but why take Nathan down with you? Brad continues, his unrelenting plea. The girl's arms reach forward towards Nathan. It's time, Dan speaks in a comforting tone. Nathan turns and climbs onto the ledge, bordering the slow, thick, swirling fire core of the cavern. The lovely vision seen by Nathan causes him to smile even bigger, filling him with pure delight. Thomas, it doesn't have to be this way, Brad calls out. Thomas breaks from form, and the first time he looks into Brad's eyes. All the other boys are completely enamored with the sight of the girl. The added anticipation of another boy joining the group assures their adherence to the scene, while the others are being tantalized by wonderful sensation. Brad senses only Thomas. Thomas! Forgive yourself! Brad yells so loud, his appeal echoes off the stone walls. Thomas proceeds forward, removing himself from the holes' arrangement. He lowers himself until he sees eye to eye with Brad. Neither of them exchanges any words, but Brad knows at that moment Nathan has been tormented for a time longer than he can imagine. Amidst the pain, Brad can feel a faint desire from Thomas, a wanting to express his appreciation. Then, with no further delay, Thomas turns and raises himself over the ledge and dives head first into the burning pit. Thomas's body disappears while evidence of the island's vibration makes it impossible to hide the disturbance from the holes any longer. The vibration's intensity increases, causing the cavern to unveil its presence. Pebbles and stones on the ground dramatically shift their placement. Dirt and dust filter down from the ceilings and walls. It doesn't take long for the boys to notice the melted earth from beneath the ground is rising. Nathan's wavering body falls backwards on the ground at Brad's feet. Brad lifts Nathan to a standing position and then spins him around so Nathan can view her face. Look! Out of the rising hot earth floats an elongated, translucent light. The white glow ascends to the arms of the girl and moves into her embrace. Her brilliant light expands, permeating the entire cavity. Brad closes his eyes as he savors the sweet, tender devotion emanating from the light. When he opens them up, she is gone. End of chapter 42.